Why is SWAPO far from the people? But they are not. They are trying to get that relevance. What the OPPO was doing from outside the country, not even inside the country, they were seeking to be the considered party fighting for the Namibians. But us in the country that are working hand in hand with the people are not considered to represent our people.
Bishop Peter Kalangula is one of Africa's unsung heroes. So he was a pivotal figure in Namibia's struggle for independence and a testament to courage and conviction in the face of colonial challenge. But why is he labeled, or why was he actually labeled as a puppet and a sellout during colonial times?
Well, when we speak of figures like Peter Kalangula and liberation struggle per se, we find different types of fighters. There are those that fight from inside, there are those that fight from outside. Now, what had happened with the liberation struggle that we had many liberators that left the country to go fight from outside. So to say, seeking assistance from those that have liberated their countries in the neighboring countries close to Southwest Africa at the time, as it was called. But now we look at it in this instance that Peter himself, going back into his history from his initial stages when he joined the administration, he was a figure that was drawn into the administration of government, who started as an interpreter at Oshikango. And he started interpreting for the government at the time to translate the word of English to Ovambo in the vernacular at the time. At the time, he grew into administration. But then South Africa, of course, took over the colonialization of Namibia. And this is where the policy started drawing us. Apartheid was formed through a policy, as many people are aware. And of course, other segregating policies came as a result as well. And this is where the separation came in. Now, in that midst, of course, he later went to join the religious entities to become a pastor before he stepped into politics. What many people don't understand, Peter joined politics at a later age. He has been an administrator of government, and then he became a pastor. Now, through his years as a pastor, he already started having issues with a bishop of a time who was playing sort of tactics to discriminate other leaders at the St. Mary Odibo at the time. This is a time when Peter got many supporters, particularly many students at the time at Odibo followed Peter. This is when he broke out to start his own Ovambo Independent Church. And this is where the first light of Peter came as a liberating type of leader. So through this church, he showed Colin Winter that we can also make our own decisions. We are not entitled to be told by you what to say and so forth. However, the others that he formed this church with later went to go apologize, but Peter remained adamant that he would not apologize. So as a result, he remained steadfast as that. Now, to answer your question, how it all drew up for him to come into politics now and to considered as a liberation leader. When he decided now that he was putting religion on a break, so this is where he developed an appetite in politics. And this is where he started visiting the legislative chambers At the time, the legislative chambers were separated in this context that the government were separated into ethnic groups. The Ovambos were governed in a separate location where they were located.
Yeah.
The Ovambos that side, the Rehoboth community that side, and you have the Nambas and the Damaras that side, and what have you, and all the others that were also part of this administration. Now, when Peter joined the Ovambo Legislative Assembly, he started visiting them. This is where all the leaders in the area at the time decided, this is where they picked up the qualities of Peter. And they started involving him into discussions. And they saw his attitude and color. And they saw how well-spoken he is, how well of a contributing figure he is, and they decided to push him all the way into the leadership of the political arena. And this is where he drew to the Democratic Turnhalle Alliance that was formed later. Before the Democratic Turnhalle Alliance was formed, there was a Turnhalle Conference. What many people do not know, the Democratic Turnhalle Alliance was an alliance that was formed from different ethnic groups. If you would call it now, it's different political parties that are coming together to form up one entity to perform part of an election.
Just before, the Democratic Turnhalle Alliance is now the DTA.
That is the DTA.
The DTA, okay.
This is its birth. In 1975, the conference went all the way to 1977 until it was signed off. Now, it is very critical to take note of that. During that time, there was a conference that is taking place, and they used to call it the Democratic Turnhalle Constitutional Conference. So it rings a question also, where does our constitution, where does it really draw its roots from? Because we can really draw and debate as much as we can say, but our constitution comes from somewhere. Where are its roots from? Because immediately after 1990, the victors that got a seat at the table in parliament at the time, they got to sit and they drafted the constitution. But of course, there was something that was drawn up already. We just need to invite scholars to draw back into history so we can understand why are most of these laws that are governing us today drawing us back as the era of the Germans, not even the South Africans. Why? Meaning that these laws has been in place and they form part of our constitution as well. But then Peter Drew already started being a leader that never took, he never stood for nonsense. He really never stood for nonsense. Yeah, this is a time where he had differences with Dekmarch because Dekmarch never wanted unity with the DTA, with the ethnic groups, but Peter wanted at least these ethnic groups to come together. He believed at the time of that time, one Namibia, one nation. It was a SWAPO policy, but Kalangula also later started believing in it because he wanted to unite everyone. But he had a problem with Dekmarch because he never wanted that. But his argument was, why are whites so different, but you don't label them as different in different ethnic groups, but you label the Bantus that share more similarities. You label them different ethnic groups. So he's been instrumental in that. Of course, during his time, many schools were built in Ovamboland. As a chairperson in Ovamboland, later in the 80s now, and he became. And many roads were built. And most of those things are still standing. We speak of hospitals. Moshpandeka, Gabriel Tapopi, Shakati hospitals were built in the time of the Ovambo administrators. Many hospitals. Unanjokwe also played part of the development of the Ovambo. I remember one person I was interviewing also told me that he personally took money from his pocket to help facilitate and fund for one of Unanjokwe's maternal ward, or Unanjokwe's ward, private ward. And he funded one of Oshakati's maternal ward that is there to date. But the board is taken away of how he inaugurated it. We don't find it there anymore.
Very true.
Yeah, this is what he contributed. And I feel that it's very best that we consider individuals that are not spoken about, because it is very much quick to draw the negative aspect of a figure. We don't say Kalangula was perfect. No. He did his miscalculations where he did. But does his good overshadow the bad? Not to say that he has bad, any person is bad. Yeah, but how far does it overshadow? Sometimes when a person does good, we only speak of that one bad. Then we forget the rest of the good that he did. As a minister of education, this man scrapped Afrikaans from the north and he introduced English. And he brought the Philippines in Ongwediva, in Ovamboland. But people don't talk about this. And this is what brought quality of education up north. Gabriel Tapop is still one of the best schools. We speak of Mweshpandeka, Aufiku, you know, all these schools, this were his work, you know. Of course, with other leaders also that he was serving with, probably some of his predecessors also. But he had also a say in it through his legislative chambers and so forth.
That's very true.
100%.
Yeah. So you recently published a book, A Namibian of Stature.
Yes.
What was the inspiration behind you writing the book? And what is your relationship with the Bishop Peter Tanyangenge Kalangula?
Well, pardon me. My relationship with Peter Tanyangenge Kalangula is as such. He is my father's father. I'm his grandson. What had happened was, during my later years, when my father passed, I had not grown up much with my father's family. So I started looking into my father's family. I normally used to hear stories of him. He would visit time and time. And but you know, just a normal grandchild, you don't sit much at the table of these leaders. So later I started leaning to learn from him. But of course, you get bits and pieces from what he's all about. And there's an interesting story also in the book of, it's all highlighted there, of how he also tried to convert me into a pastor. It's another hilarious part of it. But of course, I told him that I have my other walks that I need to pursue and follow. I need not to exactly do what he did. But of course, I tried my best at least to get and seek some wisdom from him. But then at the time it came that his time was coming to an end. So he summoned all the grandchildren and his daughter Mary, and most of the grandchildren, those that were available, to the farm. And this is the time he got sick. So we had to drive him late afternoon to Ndangwa and looked for him for a doctor. And he was admitted immediately. At the time, this is the time, I was probably 21. My last year tertiary. Not my last year, I was done with tertiary. I had one subject left that I was completing. And this is a time that forced me to grow up now and become a man that I am. This pivotal time shaped me into a person I've become. I was given a very daunting task, a very difficult task any child would have ever bared, and which I appreciate. You know, the load that came with me was as such that this gentleman, when we diagnosed and to see that he had kidney failure, he was transferred to Windhoek by plane, and I was set down to do some selling of his cattle to pay for the medical bills. Yeah, but I was tasked not to tell him even when he calls, because you know how the grown-ups are when you sell their cattle. Even when you go to them asking for help, they don't want to sell even to pay your school. They won't really want to sell. Their pride were always about cattle. And when you look at a persona like Kalangula, in the Mangeti area, by the way, he's one of the founders of the Mangeti area, Mangeti Farms. In the Mangeti Farms, he boasted and he held most cattle at a time. That's how wealthy he was when it comes to cattle. There was a time they used to call him Kalangula Wengobe. Meaning that he had cattle for days. So it was my back and forth with the truck, selling, sending for medical bills. So at the time, I went to Windhoek, because he kept calling, when are you coming? You are just there with your mother. You kids nowadays, you are just with your mother every time. Because I could see he was also becoming fond of me. So I finished the sales. Pardon me. I finished the sales, and the money was enough to cater for the hospital bills, at least as far as we can recall. And he called me. I said, well, fair and well, I'm on my way. So from that day, exactly a month when I arrived in Windhoek, then he passed. So I could see all the people that were visiting him, the stories we had at the bedside, because never a day did I miss my visitation to the hospital. It was my duty every day, ever since I got to Windhoek for a whole month. Every day I go to the hospital, buy him his local newspapers, except weekends, of course. There are no newspapers at the time. Of course, buy him his snacks, razors, I shave him, and so forth. And of course, just entertain his chats and look who's visiting him, who does he approve of. And he was not an easy man. If someone wants to come to him and he doesn't want it, he does not entertain that. That's why his middle name is Tanyangenge. So at the time when he passed, I looked into his library and his story inspired me. I spoke to my Aunt Mary at the time. This was 2008. I said, well, we should consider writing a book about Tatekuru. She said it's not a bad idea. We parked it, and I later came to realize that his close friend, Peter Weber, one of the most inspiring figure and very good hand to this book. We owe him so much for holding much of the info. Little did we know he had followed Tanyangenge to the farm back and forth during his visits, and he wrote so much about him. So I looked for Weber at Durban, went to him in Durban, and he gave me a file and said, look, my son, I'm getting old also. Next time you come to Durban, you might not find me. Here is a short document that I've written about your grandfather. Write an article or whatever. I read through shortly while we were with him. I said, look, this is not good enough to write an article. An article, a newspaper, you just throw away and that's it. I'll try my best to bring a book out of it, do some more research, and then try my best to at least bring an edition. And then the rest can formulate from that sort of a foundation. A Namibian of Stature is that foundation, and this is what inspired me, 100%.
Okay, great to hear that. So what will you say, what prompted Bishop Kalangula to establish the Ovamboland Anglican Church, and how was this move perceived within the broader community?
Well, like I said, the biggest argument there, according to the research and the stories that we followed now, in some context written, is filled with Colin Winter is highly published. It's even on the media, I mean, social media, on the internet. His pivotal fight and argument was with Colin Winter when he decided that he is pulling out of his church because he felt that Colin Winter was bullying the Ovambos in St. Mary and Odibo at the time and so forth. So he felt he was one of the bravest to speak against Winter. And of course, Winter also has a historical background to Namibia's history. He's one of the bishops that people also speak highly about. But what we need to understand here and highlight to people is that if as much and good as you are, as much you will have some disagreements or some highlights on points that we might not agree on. And I would see it to a point that this is not for the best interest of my people. And that's what Tanyangenge did with Winter. He saw that it was not in the best interest for the people in Odibo. So he broke out. It was with Hilukilwa at the time. He later became a clergyman also. Clergyman is a pastor. And, he made it all the way to bishop, but I think he did to make it to the bishop. The other one was a gentleman called Iambo. I think he's no more. But Hilukilwa, as we are told, he later went to apologize to Winter. Kalangula decided, he said, no, why should we apologize? We have done nothing wrong. We just told you that. We are not standing with that, what you're saying. And this is the pivotal point that he drew, and as a result, he went to start his own church. Of course, as you stand up against a very powerful body, you will get sanctioned. You will get cut. As they call it nowadays, you will get cancelled.
Get cancelled.
It's not popular to speak. What we are doing now is not popular for many people to come forward and speak. But we are doing this to make people comfortable because we want to hear their stories. Africa needs stories like this. We are hiding too many people that we can learn from. Now, Kalangula decided with the others, starting their own Ovambo Independent Church. This church later came to form that part of congregation. They started gathering under the trees and so forth. Because the first church they gathered, the police was called upon them. And because they found a lock, Kalangula broke it. And they gathered with their people. The police came and some gentlemen that were sent by Winter. And Kalangula said, please do not disturb us. Have respect to the house of the Lord. Allow us to finish our sermon. Then we can talk after. So the police waited outside until they finished their sermon. So we speak of such bravery, people that are not talking. At the time, he's not in politics yet. This is the time, he's just a pastor. So he had a lot of followers at the time that said, oh, he's a brave Kalangula, That time he's not labeled. He only got to be labeled later when he formed part of the DTA, when, of course, extended to the administration of Ovambo as now what you call local authority and so forth.
I see.
But the church started as far. Later, it came to pardon me, it came to become the Church of England in South Africa, and then later changed Church of England in Namibia. Remember that many of these churches, their roots goes to England, especially Anglican, and some roots goes to the Romans, and then of course it extends as such. They have their origins there. As much as people would want to say it's an Ovamboland church, it's a Namibian church, we do not have churches established in Namibia, or rather in Africa. The countries that have biblical history, like in Mali, Ethiopia, where the first Bibles were, the whites stopped our history. They took our scripts and they went to start their own universities in Greek, and they called their schools the first universities. But the first university was in Timbuktu, in Mali. History dates as such. So it is wrong to say that we have first philosophers from Europe while we are not looking at philosophers from Africa. Because the story goes as such that we are cutting out the history of the Africans that we are not talking about, because their stories are overshadowed by the victors, which were the whites. And we are doing the same with our Namibian people through figures like Kalangula, that we cut them out and we did not learn anything from them.
That's the truth.
The Church of England in Namibia later became rich, which is a church that is run by Bishop Katenda now. Yes. Bishop Katenda is the one who wrote the foreword, is the one who introduced this book inside. Yes. 100%.
Unlike many leaders, Bishop Kalangula does not have any tie with either Oppo or what we call SWAPO right now. Why was that?
Well, it is in this context that Bishop Kalangula was a pacifist. Pacifist is someone who does not believe in fights such as the liberation or armed struggle. He always believed in peaceful means of acquiring a task. His most important highlight and was stating that it's better to educate our people. These colonizers, they will go. Independence will come. Why are all of you running outside in exile as opposed to getting an education so we can have educated leaders tomorrow when we gain our independence? We are already busy negotiating for the independence. This was in the late 70s, he was saying so. Why don't we rather educate many of our leaders? He was a minister of education also. And he was pushing, many people to get educated. He pushed many people to give them scholarships. Many people were educated through these bursaries that he was giving. He said, best to educate the people. If you go to the liberation struggle, you come back with uneducated leaders. What country would we have? Now you tell me, what country do we have today? So what he spoke in the late 70s, it's biting us today. We had many people that are getting positions just because they are affiliated to the current government, government, yes. But they do not qualify for such, It's very, very dangerous to give someone a position that is of significance to serving in a country to a person just because they are loyal. And you're not checking their capability. You're not checking whether they are fit to serve the country. What will you serve the country with? What can we draw from that person's energy to feed the people? What people fail to understand is to be a servant is not to be a king. To be a servant is to serve the king. Who is a king in this instance is our electorates, our voters. They are the king.
Yeah.
What many African politicians came to become, they became kings, not servants.
Yeah.
But that only comes with education. Now, what Tanyangenge was saying, get an education, get educated, leave the war. We are negotiating.
Yeah.
And what happened? We ended up negotiating for our independence. What happened through the exile years, and of course, there were many wars, many atrocities that were happening back there. The plan did a good work through their fight for the liberation struggle. But it needs to be highlighted that later on it brought the negotiation as well. Yeah, it's not everything. You know, you get to diplomacy and you discuss all these things. Gentlemen sit around the table. When it does not work out, you get to renegotiate some more. We have endless wars that are taking place to date. We have Israel and Palestine. You know. We have Russia and Ukraine that is going on now. And of course, almost the one that almost took shape, Israel and Iran. What do? They send envoys there, the ones to discuss and of course to push for negotiation. What many people do not understand, our negotiation of independence was done with the Egyptians that were also part of the table. Yeah, and it needs to be discussed that the big powers, the superpowers that were part of the United Nations, where our Resolution 435 came from, which we applauded the SWAPO members for pushing through the Reverend Scott and Karina Mburumba and many others, Joseph Kuangwa and Kozongwidi. Yeah, many others. The list goes on. Sam Nyoma as well. They all had a hand in that petition. This petition drew traction. But what the OPPO was doing from outside the country, not even inside the country, they were seeking to be the considered party fighting for the Namibians. But they are not considering those inside the country. Now, Tanyangenge is inside the country with others that are also fighting a cause to get their independence. But they are not considered. You see?
Yeah.
Now their fight was, why is SWAPO far from the people? But they are not. They are trying to get that relevance from the African Union and the United Nations. But us in the country that are working hand in hand with the people are not considered to represent our people. Even though we are working with the government at the time, we are at least serving our people, but we are pushing for that independence. And that is how it is. And of course, it needs to be highlighted that when it comes to the UN, there is a council that is called Security Council. This Security Council is a sort of special committee in the UN. You know, the United Nations has a different type of committee, one for health, one for... Now, the Security Council is sort of like the big boys table. That is where Africa is up to date, trying to get a seat, but they are not allowed to sit there. Who got a seat in that Security Council is the ones that won the World War II. Yes. We speak of America, China, Russia, the big boys. Now, what do they have in that Security Council benefits? They have what they call the veto power. The veto power meaning that when the National Assembly, the General Assembly of the United Nations sit, because the General Assembly is where all the member states are called, all the countries, to sit and discuss a certain issue or to update overall because it is about promoting the world peace.
Yeah.
When they are called, this is where the decision is drawn and is taken to Security Council for decision. These peace negotiations that you see everywhere have to go through Security Council. This is where the resolutions were passed. Resolution 435 is just a resolution that is given a number that it was discussed, and its number that was discussed is as such on this date. But there are other resolutions with different numbers as well. To date, we have resolutions with different numbers that are promoting peace in a certain. But America has always been the one that is breaking down and disturbing the peace in the Security Council. You see, whenever they are promoting peace and bringing about ideas in the Security Council, America uses that veto power to go against the others. That's why you see many wars are not coming to an end.
Yeah.
Because what is there? Why can't they stop?
Yeah.
What is the purpose of the United Nations? Is to bring peace and promote peace overall in the world. And this is where I'm drawing to say that of all these big five that are in the Security Council with the veto power, remember that South Africa was a big dog in Africa.
Yeah.
They had the strongest, one of the strongest armies in South Africa. The military was top notch. Whatever they did, I don't know what they did to bring the state of affairs to their country, but South Africa really had it all and all and all. But to it all, South Africa was an ally to America through the National Party, which is now turned to DA.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And of course, they are back in parliament, but they are aligned to the West.
Ah.
Yeah, this is where the history goes. But you need to understand all this impact. And of course, through that, many people need to know now, through our negotiation in the United Nations with the Security Council, who had the most influence apart from the Super Five, the Big Five, if not South Africa, who was an ally to the United States.
Yeah.
South Africa was at this negotiation throughout. They did not only negotiate with the leaders inside the country, they negotiated with the leaders outside in exile as well, but they do not speak about it. We have reports where they said the other members or leaders of SWAPO also were seen negotiating and talking to these other leaders, but they don't speak about that. Yeah, and these are the things we need to bring forward. History is just history. We will not ridicule someone. Your good that you did is your good.
Yeah.
But of course, if you negotiated with it's always good to speak in good faith for the benefit of the country.
That's very true.
But to say that they did not negotiate with the South Africans, that is no go, and it's a lie. Yeah, this independence was negotiated. We all know that it was not won by the arms. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So there actually reports that Bishop Kalangula was being targeted by the South African Civilian Cooperation Bureau. So could you just maybe elaborate on that report that terms on Kalangula's life?
Yeah, through that, there have been several assassination attempts on Bishop Kalangula.
Okay.
Yeah, especially when he joined politics. You know, many things come through politics. When you join politics, you need to watch your shoulders and so forth. But when you want people to learn, that fear goes out of you. So you want to liberate the minds of the people, and you worry less about the assassination attempts.
Yeah.
Yeah, but of course, the South Africans that tried to eliminate him, They are referring to a certain gentleman that is called Dr. Basson. Yeah, Dr. Basson was a man who used to mix some chemicals, some relaxant of muscle relaxant.
Yeah.
That puts you in a state of paralysis and sort of just paralyze some certain organs in your body to such an end. They paste these things on your doors and your doors handles at home or on the car, and when you touch those things, they get exposed. But fortunately, they did not got hold of Kalangula. I think one of the family members was affected by that.
Oh.
Yeah, but I cannot speak full in confidence of that because there is no full confirmation yet. Yeah, but the story goes deep. Like I said, many people still don't want to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, because out of fear they are afraid. But we need to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Dr. Basson, of course, was one of them, and in history, he also has a history of mixing one of these cocktails to target one of the SWAPO plan members also, the SWAPO leaders. Yeah, I think there is written where he targeted some 200 members trying to eliminate them. There's an article somewhere written about that. So Basson really was critical when it comes to attacking and of course trying to eliminate anti-apartheid leaders. Now you say a person was not considered a threat by the whites, but is targeted from South Africa to be eliminated. Would you call this person a puppet of the whites if they themselves are trying to eliminate him? I don't think so. I mean, there were certain bombs that were planted in his path to his office from home. One bomb was found under his car. He drove, but it never exploded. And they reported that this was from the plan bombers. But it's not 100% confirmed because these were well-known bombers.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't say whether it was planned or what. But some of them obviously staged because, like I said, he was a man in between.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other side, the ones in exiles, considered him a piper.
Yeah.
And the whites here considered him as a difficult man, not wanting to work with them because they wanted him in the interim government that was in Windhoek. But he said he would only serve in Ovamboland to protect his people there because that's where the war is. The war affected, and this is where he protected them. Many of them, the fields were stepped over by the whites.
Yeah.
He formed a committee to go protect these people, and they used to report to him. So he went to the whites and speak to say that, no, this what you are doing is very bad. So assassination attempts a number, and probably some of them that we probably not aware of.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the attempts were a lot, not even on his life. Some of them were on leaders that were working in the portfolio like his.
Yeah.
We speak of Ushona Yashimi. Yeah, he was also, he also died a mysterious death.
Oh.
Yeah, Ushona Yashimi was also one of the leaders in Ovamboland. And then we speak of Philemon Shumba Elivas, who was also assassinated to Namawongwa 1975. These are all Tanyangenge's predecessors. We speak of Pastor Njoba, Cornelius Wafeni Njoba, who later his position was taken over by Tanyangenge while he was still alive, so sort of overthrown by him. But later he was assassinated also. He stepped on a landmine and died with his bodyguards at the road in Okongo, I was told. And then the assassination attempts started coming to Kalangula now. Now, you can imagine with that track record of your predecessors, you can imagine now how much pressure you are in.
Yeah, that's
the meetings
true.
you need to attend and the what, and you know how many people are gunning out for you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's very
it's
true.
a lot of stories that really we need to understand how it formulated and brought about the Namibia that it is today.
Yeah.
We need to understand all these things and discuss.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Like in your biography now, how do you balance Bishop Kalangula's achievements as well as his controversies? What should a reader take away from his legacy?
Well, his legacy that is mostly to be learned from is principles, I would say. This was a heavily principled man. He did not take fools lightly. He was straight to the point. If he's not in speaking terms with you, you don't come to the table to him until apology is given and you have made peace.
Okay.
It takes a while to get that peace through so you can share the table again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So meaning that he's a man true to his color. And a very giving man. There was no event close in the family that he did not give an ox slaughtered. In the family in the north.
Yeah.
Schools opened, hospitals inaugurated, he gave cattle. Yeah. That giving nature. I always look at a gentleman like that, Uskongangwa.
Yeah.
Then that reminds me of my grandfather. He was of that type. He would always give. And of course, a true servant, to put his people first.
Yeah.
You can imagine Kalangula had a family, wife and kids and grandchildren. But how many have received the quality of his love to date?
Yeah.
Very few. Because the man was ever busy putting out fires and working for his community, building something that withstands. This is what we need to draw from leaders like this. You know, someone that serves the community, serves the people wholeheartedly with love. Now, controversies. Well, when he started joining politics, of course, he didn't understand the aspect of things because he'd been serving the administration overall. And he learned so much, his principles, and he learned from clergymen from the British. Yeah? Remember, South Africa was colonized by the British, right?
Yeah.
So there were a lot of education to be passed there, and those people, they give good education. That's why if you check one of his interviews on YouTube, his English is far excellent, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, he speaks a different English, and he was going through that principled administrative type of nature as a servant. Kalangula, I would say, is not much of a politician, but much of an administrator. Most of his life, he's been an administrator, not a politician.
Okay.
Yeah, of course, politicians through the newspapers, covering stories, talking against this. That is what makes you a politician. Because you need to, of course, be in the interest of your party and be in the interest of those that you serve with.
Yeah.
If me and Elizabeth is in one party, Elizabeth causes a scandal somewhere, and the newspaper jumps to me without me even knowing about the scandal, I'll have to tell the newspaper that I'll have to look into that.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, that's politician.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the leader and the administrator, after looking into it, he takes action that's serving rightfully by principles.
Yeah.
I think we need to draw principles from him, the nature of giving. And like I said, the controversies were such that he he always had, he didn't like fools, people that took advantage of others. And he always had this protective nature. And he believed in what is best for his people. And this drew definitely to a lot of people envying him and not liking him. And that's why in his own country, the administrators of the interim government, the current government, the government at the time, they did not, even though they wanted him in the government, he refused. Yeah, and they did not like that about such a leader. We need leaders that stands on their principles. And Kalangula is a good lesson and a perfect example about that.
Okay.
Yes.
So what would you say maybe are some of, like, you know, because obviously besides him doing all these good things and all the positive things and all the work that he did for the community, what would you say are some of maybe his flaws, especially during the time of his leadership or during the time of colonial time, maybe? Like here, granted, here I think you went wrong, or here you went the wrong room.
Well, like I said, not many people have opened up to really come forward to tell me much. Most of the information I took is just through texts and, of course, interviews here and there. They told me this. But administrative-wise, he did a stellar job on his side. But if I were to sit with him now, I would have definitely want to hear more from him.
Yeah.
Why certain approach in this instance? Why did he not follow the others? But the others is very much clear because he did not believe in the way they were fighting. Yeah, and he wanted to stay home and fight. I mean, it holds more value for someone in the house that is under attack to fight from within the house rather than going outside and fighting from outside. So he stayed in the house and fought. Yeah, and that's bravery. Yeah, that's bravery. So I would say perhaps he should have pushed more on the government that he was ruling, that he was administrating with. And he should have perhaps applied more diplomacy because his middle name cost him some opportunities. The fact that he was a difficult man, I would have advised most probably to say, lighten up, Tatekulu, consider this. But of course, these are the things that build him, that made a legacy out of him. And like I said, I can't be him. He can't be anyone else that he wished to be. He has his own fingerprints, so we hold him to that. And we take different approaches based on the era and the generation we come from. We are more outspoken, more diplomatic, some of us, and we take approaches differently. Those that are direct are called black sheeps nowadays. So he would have done better if he definitely had that diplomacy more linear side to say, well, differences aside, let's try and push. Because I think after independence, I believe Tanyangenge would have contributed so much to this country because he had so much to give.
I see.
Yeah, he had so much to give.
Okay, you're now being a grandson and holding or walking around with the surname Kalangula. How does that work out for you? How does that has influenced you, especially navigating through like everyday life, employment and everything, finding yourself in rooms with the surname Kalangula? Is that played positively or negatively?
Well, negatively, I would say, because the first thing when you introduce yourself, Nelson Kalangula, they would ask you which Kalangula. So that question always, which Kalangula, means they want to associate someone. And of course, I would say the Kennedy, the son of Peter Kalangula, Some would even go as far as say, oh, these are the children of the puppets in my face. And I've received that many of times.
So?
Yeah, and you can imagine if someone can say that to your face, what would they say in a boardroom where your papers are and you're not in the room? Yeah, it always boggles in the mind, put, some thoughts to mind.
Yeah.
That if this is happening to me, how many more is it happening to me? How many are suffering because of their sin, because of what their fathers and grandfathers stood for? How many are going through those challenges? What we have a problem is a problem of labeling, and we are cutting out so many talents. Someone that is very, very good at a certain task, we cut them out because they are a Kalangula, they are what, we cut them out. You let intelligence follow the person because of their surname. I mean, what is that? Yeah, no, we should follow him. Maybe it's like his grandfather. It's like what? Why would you do that?
It's very true.
Yeah, let's not make people suffer because of where they come from, what surname they hold, because that will definitely create this sort of elitism only of those chosen people with a particular surname. And this never fades, because what will happen now if a government changes again? Do you want us to continue the culture of labeling those with the current surnames at the time, and we continue to label them afterwards?
Yeah.
Or do you want us to continue to level the field and use everyone as a Namibian? Because we are losing resources. Human resources we have, but they are stolen out of this country because we don't want to give them jobs.
Yeah.
We rather use comrades and associates.
Yeah.
Those that are clapping hands for us, but we don't want those that are challenging us, those that are advising us well, and those that are open-minded and that are giving us the rightful way to go about business. We don't want that.
Yeah.
And that's where we lack.
That's very true.
Yeah.
So for our viewers or the audience that actually wants to learn more about Bishop Kalangula, where can they find your biography, A Namibian of Stature?
A Namibian of Stature right now, really, I've ordered 200 copies and they are already running. Pardon me. The book we are selling just by individual. We are reaching out at the moment to see how we can get them in bookshops. We will approach them. We have written them emails already because the idea is to have them available for information to be shared. At the moment, they can just call me on my number 081 28.
You can just look in that camera.
90877. That is 081 28 90877. And of course, I can perhaps share with you the email. You can put through maybe the contents. The contents, and they can also reach me on that, and then we can find a way to get certain books to them. The idea is the reading culture among Namibians, particularly Africans, something that we need to really promote. I've made this book very easy to the eye to read. I made the papers creamy, so it doesn't disturb the eye, because white papers are always sensitive to the eye. And I made spacing a bit comfortable with the nice letters, just to make it easier to read. The language is not so complex, and it's something you can navigate through to go through. And of course, we do have some copies in Windhoek, and as of today, we will have some copies in Ondangwa. They are there by the Ondangwa household, his old house. Some people can find some copies there. It's just close to Metro, close to Protea Hotel, the Kalangula residence. You can find some copies there if they want to buy. Those that are in the north, Ovamboland. But we will put some copies in the bookshops in Ovamboland as well with time. And at the coast also, I stay in Swakopmund, so they can reach me directly. We can always communicate. They can get a copy through that platform.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Great to hear that.
That's right.
Okay, so before I actually let you go, is there anything else that maybe you would like to address before I let you go? That you have not mentioned or that I have not asked you, or?
Well, I would just like to say that Namibia is for all of us. We create so much hatred amongst us. So bad that we allow outsiders to come and manipulate us. Just because we fail to listen to one another. Leaders from within and leaders outside, they could have sat on the same table and found out a solution to bring an amicable solution to the independence of a country that befits everyone. Now you lost so much talent of those that served, that had administrative experience.
Yeah.
You cut them out and you labeled them, could have used them and passed on skills.
Yeah.
Our pride is killing us. The labeling is killing us. Let us go in truth and let us bring the truth forward, not to ridicule, but to learn. We do not want to say this is putting fire, on someone, gaslighting as they call it. No, we want the country to know about their true history.
Yeah.
Now, people don't know anything about what was happening in the country. Every story you hear is just about exile. What happened here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Africa, the same. The perfect example is what happened in the election now in South Africa. The government of national unity that was formed up. So many blacks that are separated, but they fail to come together and form a GNU among themselves to challenge the minority. Now they are being led and controlled by the minority. We are the majority, but we fail to govern ourselves because we want positions, we want what have you, and we want to feel important. Look, if the intellect is not there, it's just not there. If you are not blessed with a leading capability, you are not. If you have not been educated to take up lead, you have not. Perhaps this should be a lesson to teach you that seek that education to get at par with the others so we can set the standard high. Because now to be a politician is just for everyone that comes. And this is the high positions that we are giving the people.
Yeah.
But we don't even look to interview these people. What do you have that befits the position we are about to give you?
Yeah.
What qualities can we expect? You see? Never mind the background. Maybe we can negotiate. But what do you have to give to the nation to serve? Now everyone, someone does not even have an education. He's not even, well-spoken. Because you need to be well-spoken to pass on an information and to brief people.
Yeah.
That's what they don't understand. Because you need to present bills, you need to present and argue for the people that voted for you, entrusted you to go speak on their behalf. Now we choose those that can't speak to speak on behalf of the people. What is that? This is our biggest problem that we faced, not only as Namibians, but as Africans. On that note, I would also want to urge the Namibians to read, and those that are having grandmothers, grandfathers, parents, to take a pen and a paper, sit with them, write a story about them. It may not be long, but at least you have a skeleton to work on.
Yeah.
And you can expand it later. Let's promote the culture of reading and let's preserve our own history. Let's give ourselves pride that we are the ones who wrote our history, not outsiders who came to write our history. Let's celebrate those that are bringing about education to our country and to our continent. 100%. Yes.
That's very true. Thank you so much, Master Nelson. We appreciate you taking your time and coming to Africa Speaks, and we are not taking, obviously, your time for granted. So thank you so much. And yeah, I think on that note, we have come to the end of our conversation. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate your call here, and keep up the good work.
Okay,
you're doing marvelous.
Okay, thank you so much. And so with this, we've come to the end of our conversation. And if you have enjoyed and found this conversation educational and as well informative as I did, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and as well just to share your input and your insight in the comment section as well as you do. And if you are also interested in being featured on Africa Speaks, please don't forget as well just to reach out as well. You can as well just put your details in the comment section, or you can reach us on our social media on Instagram, Henok TV. And if you are interested in getting a book for Master Nelson, don't forget as well just to hit up on him. All his information will as well be in the description below. So thank you so much, and see you in the next episode.